Good evening, one and all. My name is Karen, and I would like to thank you all for attending today's webinar on cloud adoption. This is indeed an essential requirement in our ever changing world today. Let me give you a brief and a short introduction of our company, VSM Software, our product, Kia, and our speaker for the day, Ms. Priya. VSM Software is a company started over a decade ago. As all good and responsible establishments have a mission and a commitment, we do too. Our mission is to provide dependable solutions and services to the healthcare and banking industries. And our commitment is to deliver what we promise. So, as I mentioned, if you could see, we are actually a decade old. And we are a strong team of 120 employees working to achieve this mission and commitment. Also, VSM Software is an ISO certified company, both in quality and information security. So be rest assured, you'll always be in safe hands. And about our software, Kia is our SaaS CRM product, specifically developed for the pharma and medical device industries, and is being used by most leading pharma companies in more than 10 countries already. And here's to name a few of our renowned clients. The few of you who are present here today are already from this client list, and you already know how credible we are. Our achievement would be if you could be ambassadors to Kia always. We would like this list to have new companies, and whoever was present here today, we would like you to also join us. These are a few of our products and features. And if you want to know more, I can share my email address on this chat window so you can write to me as well. Now, about our speaker, as you see, she's our Senior Vice President in the Healthcare Solution. She's a highly qualified and experienced techno-functional manager with 2 master degrees, one in computer applications and the other in business management. She has over 20 years of experience in IT, always handling complex projects. Now she manages the design, the development, and the management of our customer relation management product, the CRM product called Kia. Over to you, Priya.
Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all, depending on from where you have joined the presentation. A couple of you, I think, was not able to join. We will be sharing the links to them, sharing this recording to them, and we hope to hear feedback from you and any queries, etc., that you have. You can please let me know at the end of the session. I'll be very happy to answer. Okay. So let me move to the presentation itself. So what is cloud adoption? So cloud adoption basically refers to taking up the infrastructure or the servers with on the operating system, the database management system, the entire infrastructure, the hardware part of it, and wherever required, if you have opted for software also, which is on the cloud, then it is a combination of taking up our infrastructure and software, which is on the cloud. So it is basically not in your organization. It is not in your network. It is completely outsourced, if I can use that word, and it is managed by the service providers with whom you have signed up. And it is something that, of course, a lot of thinking has gone into it. There are still resistance to moving to the cloud, but we have evolved so much, and cloud has been in existence for quite a number of years now. So various risks associated or what was when there, they have all been handled and mitigated. So absolutely, there is a lot of advantages compared to disadvantages, if any at all. Compared to that, the advantages are many, many, many more. So there's a reduced cost. There's absolutely minimal or no risk involved. And the best part of it, you can grow the infrastructure as you grow. You can expand as the organization grows. I will be getting into the number of benefits and various why we should opt for it in the subsequent slides. There are 3 types of cloud adoption. There is the software as a service, there is infrastructure as a service, there is platform as a service, and then there is the hybrid model. So let me just get into a little bit more detail about each of them. What is infrastructure as a service? Like I already told you, it is about taking up the service in the cloud, moving it from your organization, your premises, and putting it on cloud like Azure, Amazon, IBM, where we are present. And there are several other providers. There are also local providers. There are these multinationals. So there are various providers who are available, and you completely move your software, your applications to that kind of infrastructure. So again, some benefits are listed here, and like I said, I will be getting into it. The main advantage is it gives you uninterrupted service. There is no power cut, there is no internet being lost, and full 24/7 security protection. All of this is the advantage that you get. Now, when you go for software as a service, the application, whether it is a CRM or even if it's an ERP or of late, like Microsoft is providing Office 365, all of this, the software itself is in the cloud. So it's not basically installed in your laptop. It is not installed in your desktop. So it is running off the cloud and you're accessing it and using it off that. You can still save your files wherever required, but the application resides there. And the advantages you get is as they improve the product, as their software is improved, upgraded, you get all of those benefits seamlessly. Okay. There might be commercial implications in some cases, some without commercial implication, but you get whatever feature advancement a software provider is doing, those features are now available to you. So the R&D that goes into the product, into the software, you get access to that without you having to put in the time and energy to understand and develop it. Platform as a service, basically for various software companies and even in some cases, pharma companies who have a development center. So the platform itself is available on the cloud. So the entire development happens on the cloud instead of happening on the premises. In the hybrid model, which many companies do opt for, certain applications run in the internal servers. Especially this could be a process that can be followed if you consider an ERP application. The ERP doesn't need to be accessed outside of the organization. Largely, it is limited to the head office staff. Sometimes, yes, distributors do log in, but if you have not opted for it, if all your users are in the office, in the same premises, then it makes sense to go in for hosting it internally, having all the service internally, since you are not exposing it to outside network, not enabling internet on that. But when you consider these applications like a CRM system, where you have your field users accessing the application, it makes sense to move it to the cloud. So you get the best of both the worlds. If you still want your financials not to be exposed to the cloud, you can keep it internal. And anyway, the users are also internal. But when users are from the field and it is a system that needs to be accessed from anywhere, then going to the cloud makes better sense. So that's the hybrid mode. Now, who can move to the cloud? If you ask me, just about all sizes organization, different sizes of organization, every organization can actually opt for the cloud, whether it is in a small scale or a medium scale or a mere. So what all you put on the cloud is a decision that has to be taken, but there is something in the cloud for everybody. If you consider the entrepreneurs and the startup, they're already investing time and energy and money trying to grow a business which has just been initiated. So their own core offerings they'll have to concentrate on. So instead of trying to also parallelly work on an IT infrastructure and providing that for their employees and users, they can concentrate on whatever it is that they have started business on. So yeah, makes sense to go to the cloud and give that responsibility to a vendor and concentrate on the core business. When it comes to the small and the medium-sized companies, again, their need becomes a little bigger. It is a little more than might be a startup. But again, whatever may be the number of users, if you consider 100, 200, 300, whatever may be the size of the company, all of them need to still be accessing this software. So you move the responsibility to somebody else. You don't have to build the talent internally to manage services. You don't have to have a system admin trying to provide you with 24 hours, 7 services, keeping the service uptime on the time. All of that you don't have to build. So you can again concentrate on your business and growing it. We have already brought it to a mid-sized company. Moving it to a large-sized company is what everybody can concentrate on. Large companies and corporates, their needs are also larger. So, which means they will have to provide the infrastructure, the premises, the land space, everything to enable that kind of infrastructure which is needed for that sized company. So, instead of that, they go to the cloud, and because they're already large, the chances are they're going to be even larger. They can expand as they go. So, if every sized company, every sized corporation can opt for the cloud. There are only benefits, or largely benefits and flexibility available for. Now, though we started off with cloud adoption, I'll be largely talking about the SaaS model, because when you say software as a service, uh, almost all software as a service also provides you with the infrastructure. So the benefits that I am going through will tell you how the infrastructure service and software services, both benefits are covered here. So platform as a service is mostly for development. So we don't have to get into that. And hybrid model is anyway, we are talking about the benefits of a SaaS model. So I'll get into SaaS as the main point of concentration and get into the benefits part of it. Now, first point is the maintenance and the uptime responsibility. Now, like I said, when you move to the cloud and you opt for a SaaS model where you're getting the software also on a lease basis as a service, and the infrastructure on which it is hosted is also as part of these services, the entire responsibility of keeping it up and running 99.99% of the time becomes the vendor's responsibility, the service provider's responsibility. They will need to have this required support personnel. So, if you go by the example for in our own case, when the pandemic came in, um, suddenly in 2 days' time, the lockdown was announced. So we had to make arrangements for our own staff and for us to work from home. And we are hosted in IBM. So if we have had to also worry about the infrastructure and how we are going to provide the security personnel and security for that, it would have been that much more of a delay, that much more of a problem even for us. Even though we are a software company, we have opted for going to IBM for the infrastructure. So during the pandemic, with not even 1 day of downtime, the our service provider, which is IBM, this person, they're all available. The servers never went down, the support never went down. Similarly, from our side, we are the software providers. So our people were all equipped with required devices so they can continue to support from home. Though the office itself was closed, they were given access to all the applications. So the support, absolutely none of our clients had even 1 day of downtime during the pandemic, even though it was a sudden decision, something that happened without anybody realizing it's going to happen at all. So that is one thing. And so that was one of the main thing that from our own example, I would like to say. And our dedicated support personnel. So what our support people do, they ensure that the system is monitored on a daily basis, ensure the performance is kept up to date, and ensure that clients don't have any problem during the usage. Second point is the implementation cycle itself. Now, when the software is already ready, the infrastructure on which the software is already hosted is also ready. Whenever a client signs up, it is a matter of just implementing, creating an instance for them, and rolling it up. The only dependency is on the data that is needed to set up the system. That if the client has it ready, any application, and even ours for that matter, 2 to 3 weeks time maximum. That's the maximum limit. And usually this time goes for waiting for the right data for the CRM system in our example and say. So it is all ready, and ready to roll out. Absolutely no time is needed for they're trying to see if this meets the requirement or not. It's already tested, time tested, and tested by several clients. So it is ready and ready to use. Now, the third point, the physical safety of the infrastructure. Like I said, the data center, in our case, like I keep saying, IBM, we are hosted in Singapore. So all the cameras are there every step of the way. There's security personnel are available 24 past 7. And the access to the servers from their side or even from our side, it is all limited. And like one of the service provider was giving an example, the service it was hosted or is placed in is in a city where suddenly there was a flood situation, lots of rains, and the roads were all blocked. And naturally, when you have rains, you have power cut, even if it's the a metro city that happened. But the data center had about 2 weeks of diesel available in the premises. So even though there was water log and the transportation was not possible, using the diesel and the fuel backup, the generators and the UPS was kept running. So there is absolutely no downtime at all. Just imagine if the same thing we have to handle it in the office in our own organization to provide the space for this kind of fuel. This is not the core business. Even from an IT point of view, as a software company, I'm saying infrastructure is not our core business. So we don't have to worry about it when there is sufficient resources and services available. Next is the data security. Now, this is one of the main resistance point that many clients have to adopt to cloud. Now, what is available? Now, first point, there are firewalls. So they are enabled. There are infrastructure firewalls or hardware firewalls are available. There are software firewalls available. So which means hackers and cybercrime can be limited. I wouldn't say eliminated, but that's true of on-premise solutions also. If or something does go wrong, it can happen on on-premises. But the kind of security and the knowledge that the data centers are gained, there are maximum possible roadblocks for cybercrime, against cybercrime. Then there is the antivirus. Again, it is kept updated so that the latest version is running. Then access control. Now, from our point of view, if you see also, we have dedicated support personnel. Only those who need to access the software, those who need to access the database, only they have been given control. In the server in the data center also, these engineers, they have limited access. So which means the chances of anybody purposely handling or mishandling the data is also limited. And I keep going back to our experience because that's where I can give you real life examples. Now, our application, we get it tested once a year for OASP standards. It's basically a standard which helps to ensure the software is strengthened against cybercrime. So the whatever SQL injections and various other aspects on those lines are all prevented by going through the guidelines of OASP and implementing that in the software. So constantly the software is updated to ensure that these guidelines are met. So these problems are avoided. And we even get it audited by an external vendor so that we know the latest what is happening in this in the world. The latest way people are finding to break the system. We are aware of it and take precautions against it. And HTTPS or secured socket layer is always adopted. So all websites are controlled that way. So even during transmission, the data is protected against cybercrime. And key data can be encrypted in the database also. So even at rest, the terminology, if I can use it, it is at rest. That is, it is in the server. Even there, the key data, like the passwords, contact information, anything else that the client might need, are encrypted and placed. So from outside and while transmission and while rest in the server, there are protections and protections made possible. The next most important benefit, cost efficiency. Now, when you talk about infrastructure in the premises, you will have to buy the infrastructure. So, which means you are investing upfront on that server and on the operating system, everything in it. So, which is basically capital expenses. Now, as an organization, as we grow, this our infrastructure also has to be expanded. So we all know you can, if my laptop is slow, I can ask my system admin to increase the RAM. I can keep increasing it, but after a point, this laptop is not going to be able to take any more RAM or any higher RAM capacity. The only way I can now get better speed is to replace the laptop with another laptop which has a better configuration, which is what will happen on the server also. So as the number of users increase, as the usage increases, the number of modules increases, that server will no longer be able to service the users. So you go on increasing till you reach the maximum limit. And then the only option is to buy another server. So which means, and again, reinvestment on this. Whereas when you go for an OPEX model, operational mode of expenses, where you are paying on a lease basis, it's almost like a monthly rent that you're paying. Whenever the infrastructure is outdated or is not able to take up, seamlessly from the data center, we can just move to the new server, which has a better capacity, migrate everything there. And for the end users, it at best might be some overnight downtime and a couple of hours might be during the daytime or over the weekend. And they're up and running and no upfront investment because everything is now going on a month available in the internet. It actually says, the report says that the IT overhead costs have come down by 30 to 40%. And one more thing I like to mention here, like I had already said earlier also, when you have servers, you need system admins. You need people who will fine tune it and keep it running with the current infrastructure also. So, which means you are investing on those resources apart from the hardware resources. All of this is now available when you go to a cloud. They are all available when you go for a SaaS mode. Scalability, I've already told enough on all of those, especially on the infrastructure point of view. If you take it from the software point of view, yes, me again go back to what we've got. So we have got some 11 plus modules in our CRM system. When a client signs up, they don't need to buy all the 11 upfront. They can start with one or two modules and then keep scaling it up, increasing it as they settle in each module. As the users start using it to the maximum, they can move to the next module. And because it's part of a suite of, it's a product suite basically, there is interaction of data between the modules already built into the system. There are analytics built which takes data from both of them. So all of that just makes it more easy to scale up. But if you're developing the CRM system in-house, you will have to then start developing the second module, the third module, fourth module. And when you opt for a software as a service, you know these softwares have already been used by others. So they've already given the feedback. Any glitches have already been sorted out. Any new functionality, which is something that the market is looking for, there is already research going on and it is being incorporated. So all of that scalability you get when you go for a SaaS mode. And the analytics part, well, because there's immense pressure on us as a provider to keep giving more and more what the users want, client want, even before, if possible, before they know they want it. So constantly there are reports being generated, constantly reports being built and added, analytics added, dashboards added. So which just makes it easy for you as a client to see what is happening in the system and how the users are using it and improve the efficiency of the users. If it's CRM or if it's any other type of software. And because it's in the cloud, it's already internet facing. So you can access it from anywhere. And whenever there are mobile applications provided, it's naturally compatible with both iOS and Android. So any of the device from any location, it can be accessed. But again, if you are going for an on-premise solution, you will have to ensure that you are accommodate these different types of devices. And of course, you have to make it internet facing to be able to allow it to be accessed from any location. And upgrades, whether it is a operating system upgrade or it is the database upgrade or the solution itself in terms of technology adoption. We are trying to get AI incorporated into the system and provide integration with other solutions in the market. Like currently, we are doing research to see how DocuSign can be integrated with our solution. So, like that, there are constant upgrades, and even when you say upgrades, even that could even be some patches in terms of issue fixes. All of that happens automatically. You don't have to face the issue to get the updates or upgrades, you get it otherwise also. And there are certain modules which are provided without additional commercial implications. So those are the advantages of software as a service. And higher performance, greater quality, availability. I've said enough on this already in my previous points. But one of the, again, from the McKinsey report, what I understand is the IT incidents have also come down by 70% because of the elastic nature of infrastructure. Because you are expanding before the performance goes down, the RAM is being increased, processor is being updated, the servers are being upgraded, solutions are being updated. Basically, like I was telling you, issue fixes are all happening. As soon as it's faced by one client, it is fixed and rolled out to all. So, which this elastic nature and updates ensure that the number of issues in the systems comes down by at least 70%. And easy adoption. Again, because there are several users for the software, you need to constantly ensure that it is easy to use. So there are first the user experience itself is constantly looked at and incorporated, and there are manuals, training, calendars, etc. provided. So it makes it easy for anybody to use the system without much of a training or learning curve being required. And next most important, the disaster recovery process. So again, from our example, what we have our devices in Singapore, like I told you. Now the system servers are on there. The backup is in a device which is not in the same data center. So which basically means the main data is in one location and the backup is in another location. So even if something does go wrong, the backup is not going to be affected because there's some two different locations. The same thing to be done in an organization internally will mean that much more effort. You would have to have two office buildings to be able to handle it. Uh, you will have to make some other accommodation to ensure the backup is safe. So even if the main gets just gets affected, and because you are not having any upfront investment, the entry is also minimal in terms of cost because you're only paying for each month as you use it. And the exit is also not much because you only paid for what you've used so far. So if you find that it is not serving your purpose, leaving the solution and moving to something else is also just as easy. So the barriers are very, very minimal for both entry and exit. So these were some of the points that I wanted to cover in why SaaS.